And I always had this fear. I had this fear that I was gonna get fired. I had this fear that no one liked me. I had this fear that I sucked, that I couldn't do anything. And that fear began to make me feel paralyzed, where I would go into the office and I would look at my computer and I would just be like, and once you talk about it, you'll feel yourself start to lighten up. You'll remember that it's not all real. Your feelings are real, but the fears you have are not always real. And then you can start putting in those steps to move forward. And what can I do to feel better? Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am just going to be filming like a life update, heart-to-heart chat as I do. Just kind of letting you guys in on some of the things that I've been thinking about lately and experiencing lately. And yeah, we're just gonna have like an honest kind of heart-to-heart talk. These videos are always like a relief for me, and it's because YouTube is in so many ways just like my open journal about my life. And I share with you all the ups and the downs, the highs and lows. And I think you guys know me by now that when a video like this comes out, it's usually because there's just been a lot of things on my mind, things that I've been experiencing and going through. And I like to share these things with you guys. It's not because I want to like come on here and be negative or like, it's not for anything other than it helps me to express them like this. There's something so therapeutic for me about like talking to the camera like this, talking to you guys, because you always come through in the comments and make me feel so seen. And I know from the comments as well that these videos make you feel seen. So I think it's important that like we keep having these open and transparent conversations, because there's no need for any stigma or any, like when you're already feeling bad about yourself or you're not feeling the best for a couple days, for a week, however long it may be, yeah, there's no need to like feel, what am I going into here? Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that I want my channel to be the kind of place where you guys can look at and see a person's full range of emotions, full areas of all of their life, whether that is the highs and the successes and the happiness and the great and fun times, and also the other realities of being human, which is that sometimes we don't have the best days or the best weeks, and sometimes we experience negative emotions. So the main theme of today's video is going to be, well, I guess it's just overall like a general life update chat, but I really want to speak specifically about imposter syndrome, because I feel like I've kind of put my finger on what's been happening lately, and a lot of it actually goes back to imposter syndrome, which is something I haven't spoken about in a little while. So let's talk about it today, shall we? I wrote down in my journal like just kind of some thoughts that I've been having lately, and just kind of like a little bit of an outline for this video, because you guys know me, I can like ramble forever. So we're gonna start with just like, how have I been feeling lately? What's been going on? And then we'll talk like more specifically about imposter syndrome. And I'm gonna tell you guys like a little bit of my plan for how I'm going to tackle this. Obviously, like I'm not any sort of professional or anything, so I don't want this video to be like pure advice, but it's gonna be what my plan is to move forward, and some of the things I've spoken about with my therapist as well. So what's been going on lately? Lately, I have just been so up and down from really like a day-to-day, week-by-week basis. I spoke a couple of vlogs ago that I had a bit of like a down week a couple weeks ago, and I just had this whole week where I felt like all I could do was the bare minimum, and I didn't feel like I could get much done. And a little bit before that, I spoke about, maybe it was around the same time, I started to have a lot of financial anxiety. I was experiencing that, I was feeling down, and it just kind of trickled into this like underlying feeling of like having constantly like anxiety and negative self-talk. So like I would be in a really happy situation, I would be like out with friends, and I would genuinely be feeling good. And then I would have these little moments where my mind would go, but you're not gonna make your rent this month, Zoe, or like, you're a failure, Zoe. Like these little moments where my anxiety would just tell me like really mean things. And when you have anxiety, you need to remind yourself that those things aren't true. That anxiety will tell you things that are not true to kind of scare you. Anxiety, for me at least, is really like a lot of fear wrapped up in it. A lot of like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Oh my God. Like, I think they call it like catastrophizing, like when you visualize kind of just the worst case scenario. And so I'd be going about my life and I'd be feeling fine. And then I'd have those voices sort of remind me of these fears that I have, these kind of maybe even irrational fears, right? So that's what was going on. And then it started getting stronger to the point where I kind of started just feeling frozen, where all day long I would just sit at my desk and my brain would be going. You're a failure. You're not good enough. No one's going to like this video. No one's going to like that video. Don't even bother reaching out to that brand. They'll never answer you. Like, don't check your stats because you're going to see everything's going down. Like, just stuff like horrible stuff like that. Even as it came to like looking for another copywriting contract, like, don't even bother because you don't have the energy to do it. You can't even complete like a full workday, Zoe. Like, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail. Like, that was really what was going on in my head. So yeah, a lot of stuff about failure. And as I was like thinking about this, I realized it was like all of a sudden, it was during a spin class. I get a lot of like bright ideas during spin class, but it was during spin class that I just kind of had this realization where I was like, you've been here before, Zoe. Like, you have been here before, where no matter what you're doing, no matter what's happening, you've constantly got this fear of failure. And this all started when I graduated university and I started my first like big girl job, and I was working as a consultant. And I always had this fear. I had this fear that I was going to get fired. I had this fear that no one liked me. I had this fear that I sucked, that I couldn't do anything. And that fear began to make me feel paralyzed, where I would go into the office and I would look at my computer and I would just be like I wouldn't want to start anything because I would convince myself that the slides that I was going to make or the report that I was writing was so bad, and that if I delivered it to my manager, that they would like insult me, or that they would like think to themselves or talk to me with their coworkers about like how stupid I was, like horrible things. And someone told me, I forget who it was, it might have even been one of my managers back then, that like, that's imposter syndrome. Like, you're experiencing imposter syndrome. Or maybe it was my mom. And that was the first time I'd heard of imposter syndrome. And that was the first time that my eyes kind of got open to it. And so to bring it back to now in this spin class, I realized everything I'm feeling now is so similar to what I was feeling then. It's just in a different context. And so back then, being a consultant was my dream job. And I was like, I have achieved my dream job. And then I got there and I was like, oh, I think there were so many reasons why it ended up not being my dream job, but so much of that was also rooted in my own anxiety that I just kind of sabotaged myself. And then to realize that here we are again in my dream job, although this like really truly is my dream job, all of that anxiety is coming back again. So I want to give, for anyone who's like, what is imposter syndrome? What are you talking about? I just pulled up the Oxford definition. So it says that imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one person's own effort or skills. Then it says, people suffering from imposter syndrome may be at increased risk of anxiety. And I thought that last part was funny because I would see it the opposite way, where I would see people who suffer from anxiety may be at increased risk for imposter syndrome. So I think the two really go hand in hand. And so basically it's like, for me, how I experience imposter syndrome is, yeah, like I don't deserve to be a consultant. I don't deserve to be a YouTuber. I'm going to fail because I got here by some off chance. It's like just really low self-confidence. And I actually visualize the imposter syndrome as kind of like this like spooky like monster, like Monsters Inc. vibes, like literally in my head just talking to me, like whispering these things that aren't true, but like I really visualize it once I think about it. And the good news is that once you identify this as imposter syndrome, and like for me, when I visualize it, like I think I've given it that sort of cartoon image in my head to help me acknowledge that it's not real. That like, if this cartoon's talking to me, I don't have to believe it. It's not real. And because no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, you know, like if you're in school and you're studying and you're writing your thesis, or, you know, you're in med school, I can just imagine like if I was in med school, I'd be like, I can't be a doctor, you know, or at work. It doesn't matter if you're your own boss, if you're working for someone, like you can experience that imposter syndrome, but just know that like you are where you are because you deserve it. You worked for it, you earned it, and you can succeed and you can be amazing. So you have to acknowledge that. You have to tell yourself that. And I would give that tip of like picturing, if this could be helpful for you, picturing your imposter syndrome or those voices like in a sort of cartoon way, so that you can remember that it's not real. Now, another kind of symptom I want to say of the imposter syndrome and the anxiety that I've been having is talking myself out of situations. So for example, I will talk myself out of filming a video. I'll have a great idea for a video, or you guys will leave an amazing idea in the comments, and I will literally talk myself out of that video. I'll give you a good example. Okay, don't look at my nails right now because I tried something new and they're very bad. But over the last years, I've gotten pretty good at doing like gel manicures at home. And so many people have been requesting, Zoe, can you please do a video about how you do your nails at home? And I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not a professional. I can't do that. I can't even, that will be too hard to edit. That's not out of my comfort. No. And I talk myself out of filming that video when it's like, who cares? Just have fun and film that video, you know? And there's other videos too that I'll talk myself out of doing. I've talked myself out of, for years, I've talked myself out of starting a podcast because I'm like, you don't have time. You'll fail. You won't like, you get into depression and then you don't have as much like, because sometimes I get into these kind of depressed states and then like I can't be as productive as I would like to be. And so I tell myself like, well, don't take on any more. You can't handle it. So don't start that podcast. Don't any kind of new thing I want to do or try, talk myself out of it. Back in the days, like at corporate work, I would talk myself out of introducing myself to someone. I would talk myself out of asking to be on a certain project. And I would talk myself out of my day-to-day tasks. Like, don't send that email. Don't reply to this. Don't like talking myself down, talking myself away from things because I'm so afraid of failing. And like, how can you move forward, right? And what this does is it really creates a vicious circle, because if every time you want to send an email, you talk yourself out of sending that email. Every time you want to meet someone new, you talk yourself out of meeting someone new. Well, the next time that you want to go send an email, that you want to go meet someone new, you're going to remember that failure, that time you didn't do it, and it creates more validation for why you shouldn't do it this time. So it's like this horrible circle where the more you listen and the more you talk yourself down, the more you listen to that imposter syndrome, the less self-confidence you're going to have, resulting in more imposter syndrome. And that's totally what has been happening to me, is like, I don't start the podcast. I don't reach out to that brand. I don't film that new video. And it just creates this lower and lower self-confidence, which increases my fear of failure. And you guys can see where I'm going with this. This has led to me just having this overall like fear of the future. I'm 25, I'm gonna be 26. In like 2 months, I'm gonna be 26. And I just have this fear of like, how can I have a family someday? How can I have a career? How will I grow to be an adult? How will I have a home? How will I like, it keeps me so short-sighted that I don't feel like I can set long-term goals or like think about the future, because I'm so in such like a fear and anxious state right now. Yeah. And now these feelings don't last forever for me. Luckily, I am doing a job that deep in my heart I love. So I think I have like the kind of guiding force of my intuition being like, this is what you love. This is what you're meant to be doing. This is what you want to do. So I have that deep in my core that helps me push through this. When I was in my corporate consulting job, I didn't have that because I started to realize this isn't really what I want to do. I had my YouTube channel just starting up back then, and that was where my love was, right? So I didn't have that sort of like intuitive knowing that I was in the right place. Right now, I have this intuitive knowing, and I'm so grateful for it because it's keeping me very slowly, but it's keeping me putting one foot in front of the other, keeping on moving. So if you are experiencing this, I really recommend trying to turn inwards and think like, am I feeling this because really this isn't right for me? Or am I feeling like, try and identify why. And I think even if it's not super right for you, let's say you're feeling this at your job and deep in your core, like this job isn't right for you, at least knowing that the job isn't right for you can relieve some of that pressure, because it's like, well, if this job isn't super right for me, then I don't need to be perfect at it. I still should do my best. I still should give everything, that I can to this job, not in like a toxic way, but like do your best. We should always aim to do our best. But if you can relieve some of that pressure, that's like, okay, this isn't my dream job. I don't need to be so perfect. That should help take off some of the pressure. Me trying to give advice when I'm really not, I'm still in it. So, I'm trying to just let you guys in on my thoughts, I guess. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been feeling. That's like a lot of talk, and I get a little bit shy sometimes when I open up like this because I don't want anyone to take this and like have it make them feel negative. I really hope that my words don't make you feel that way. I want you to feel hopeful and not alone through this, like through me sharing, to know that like, if you're feeling this, like I'm feeling it too. And knowing that you're not alone, I think there's so much power in that. The other thing that really helps me is addressing it, saying it. Whether that's saying it to someone, like before I can sit here and say this all to you guys, I sat there and I told this all to my therapist. And even if you just have to say it to yourself, I think step one is like acknowledging it to yourself, and even saying it out loud to yourself. Like go lock yourself in the bathroom and be like, I'm suffering from imposter syndrome. I'm feeling imposter syndrome. I'm feeling imposter syndrome, and it's not real. Acknowledging it is really like that first step, because when you're like in the thick of it and you can't acknowledge it, it's really hard and it feels really scary. And I know that, which is why so it's been, as I'm filming this, it's been a while since I've actually like filmed a video because I felt so frozen. And during that period of feeling frozen, I couldn't identify that what I was feeling was imposter syndrome. So identifying it really is the first step. Like talking about it with someone you trust is, I think, the second step. And once you talk about it, you'll feel yourself start to lighten up. You'll remember that it's not all real. Your feelings are real, but the fears you have are not always real. And then you can start putting in those steps to move forward. And what can I do to feel better? So I wrote some notes just like in my journal of some things that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so that's the other thing, like speaking of releases. So therapy was so helpful for me. I felt such a weight off my shoulders, and this was literally yesterday when I had my call with my therapist and told her this. And we decided to increase the frequency of our visits now. I was seeing her every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks, and for the next little bit, maybe even just for the next time, gonna see her every 2 weeks, just to help keep me accountable on this journey. Sometimes I love my friends so much, but like a professional is really invaluable. So if you can, I recommend reaching out to a professional. I like always stand by that. So I'm gonna see her again in 2 weeks. The other thing that's been helping me so much, and I think that has helped me really like avoid slipping like too deep into this, has actually been physical activity, going to the gym, following a workout program. I'm still using Copilot, and I'm still going to my classes at the gym. Like I said, I've been doing spinning, and that really helps me. The endorphin rush is so real, and every time I would leave a workout, I would feel really, really good, and I'd get this rush of confidence. So try and incorporate any kind of physical activity, whether that's a walk, whether that's going to the gym. It's not gonna fix your problems. It's not gonna like totally make you feel better, but even if it can make you feel better for like a little bit afterwards, like an hour afterwards, 30 minutes afterwards, then like that's great. And that's how it worked for me. It really did help keep me keep me from going too deep into this anxious and even depressed state. Okay, so let's talk about how my plan is to move forward. I'm very actually confident about this plan because I've been testing it over the past couple weeks and it really works. So something that I've noticed myself doing is setting way, way, way too long to-do lists. I'll do like a brain dump of everything that I have to do or want to do, and then I'll be like, go ahead, Zoe, do it. And then when I don't achieve everything on that list, I get really mad at myself and it hurts my self-confidence even more. It's back to that whole vicious circle that I was talking about earlier. So some of you may remember this, I mentioned this in a vlog recently, is my like 3-step method. And you can do this with 1 step, you can do this with 2 steps, you can do 3, 4, 5, whatever you want. For me, I'm choosing 3. And it's just to give myself 3 things to do every day. 3 things. 3 things that will make me feel good, that will make me feel like I'm moving forward, but won't overwhelm me. So if you compare like a really long to-do list that's like, go to the gym, clean your house, do your laundry, do all of your work, start this new project, email this new person, work on my side hustle, work on my hobby, work on my art, like whatever. Oh my gosh, like no one can do all of that in a day. And like, if the Instagram reels are showing someone doing that all in a day, like fuck that, because no one's doing that. But if you're like, okay, what 3 things are gonna make me feel good today, are gonna start pushing me towards the direction of my goals, then that's great. And it has honestly worked for me. I've been doing it here and there every couple of days, and I just need to implement that every single day. And that doesn't mean wake up at 6 a.m., go for your workout, then do all of your stuff. Like, keep it realistic, you guys. If waking up at 6 a.m. isn't feeling good for you right now, then don't do it. Let yourself sleep, let yourself rest. Maybe that's what your body needs. If working out is what's feeling good for you, make that one of your 3 things every single day if you need, or every other day, whatever schedule you want. For me, I'm trying to make it like every other day for working out. But yeah, I just been writing down my 3 things. I kind of caught myself yesterday or it was the day before, because I cheated on my 3 things and I did film and edit a video. Well, guess what? That overwhelmed me because filming and editing are 2 very separate things. So it overwhelmed me and I didn't do it. So keep them single, keep them doable. And I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Michaela, because she's the one who introduced me to this, which I think came from Ed Milet, but I never listened to the Ed Milet. I just listened to Michaela, which is make promises to yourself and keep those promises to yourself. And that is how you build self-confidence. So if you tell yourself, I'm going to run 10 minutes today, and that's one of your 3 things. You run 10 minutes and you do it and you check it off. You kept a promise to yourself, and you will build self-confidence this way. And it is so true. And to go back to consulting, it was actually while I was working in consulting and I was feeling really down about myself that she told me this. So everything's very full circle. And the flip side of that is when you don't keep promises to yourself, that's when you hurt your self-confidence. And that's like what we've been talking about in this video. So make those 3 things, make them promises that you can actually keep to yourself. So make them realistic. You don't need to worry about like pushing yourself so hard all the time. Like that's such a hustle thing of our maybe generation or society. I don't know. So make those 3 promises that you can keep to yourself. Start working on building your self-confidence. And as your self-confidence grows and builds, you'll be able to silence and quiet that voice of imposter syndrome, knowing that you are capable and you are keeping these promises to yourself. You are making your bed. You are running 10 minutes. You are clearing your email inbox every day, like whatever it is, whatever it may be. So yeah, what I wrote in my journal was, if you set a too long list or something not realistic, you will resurface the negative voice if you don't complete it. So I think that's pretty much just what I said. Now, again, on this list, the next thing I want to say is it's okay for your list to change every day. So if one day, I will give you guys a very real example. So on Monday of this week, today's Wednesday, on Monday, I said, you're gonna film and edit this video that I'm filming right now. I said, you're gonna film it and edit it. And then, like I said, that overwhelmed me. That was too much, and I didn't do it. Tuesday came around and I had other priorities. So I didn't even put that back on the list. The other thing that I found myself doing sometimes was if on one day it didn't get completed, I would automatically move it to the next day. And then sometimes it still wouldn't get completed because I had other priorities that day, more meetings, whatever it may be. And then it would keep going. And the longer I saw a task keep going along my list, the more it would hurt my self-confidence because I'm like, see, you said you were gonna do it and it's been a week that you don't do it. So I really wanna recommend that every day you start a fresh list. You don't need to carry tasks over. Like every day you should reevaluate your priorities and reevaluate, what do I have time for today based off of my schedule? And what do I have time for today based on how I'm feeling mentally and physically? Right? You might feel more tired one day. You might feel more anxious one day. So you don't feel like filming or you don't feel like taking on your big, project, whatever it may be. So I really recommend every day check in with yourself and reset those priorities. You can keep like a master list going somewhere else if that's helpful for you, so you don't forget things, but every day, set a new and fresh start. Like let every day be a fresh start, keeping those promises to yourself. And I honestly, truly know and believe that this will help you. And I know it's gonna help me too. And now that I've expressed all of this, I'm feeling so much more hopeful, and I'm just excited to try this out and feel better and really like conquer that imposter syndrome. And I don't think it's a matter of conquering it once and for all. I know myself, I know it will come back. These are the cycles of life. But so what my therapist told me yesterday was like, if you have mental health struggles, they're not gonna vanish one day. They're not gonna just go away. But what she said was, because I asked her, I was crying, and I asked her, am I gonna feel this way forever? Like, am I gonna experience this forever? And she was like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. You have depression and anxiety. You're gonna feel depression and anxiety probably for your whole life. But what will happen is you will learn how to handle it better, and you will learn, and as you learn how to handle it better, the periods of anxiety and depression will not be as intense and they will become farther apart. And that gives me hope because it's realistic, and it's like, it also takes away any shame that you could feel when it's like, oh, I'm feeling this way again, and you feel ashamed of yourself. It's normal. It's okay. Just every time you pick yourself back up, and you keep going. So that's where I'm at. My gosh, what a deep video. That is where I'm at. And I'm so grateful to every one of you who listened to this video. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for hearing me. And I hope this video helped you. I hope whatever you're feeling, wherever you are, this can be helpful. And I guess just the ultimate reminder I want to give you guys is you are not alone, and go easy on yourself, because you deserve it. You deserve happiness, and you're not a failure. And I love you. Okay? Okay. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb while I was filming. Well, like right now. But somehow still, my dad managed to call me and it rang. I don't know. And already for today, I have made my list. Actually, filming this video wasn't on my list, but then I was doing my journaling and I felt compelled to do it. So that's that. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.